the way that this game goes is ultimately going to come down to how does Stetson Bennett play, because Jordan Davis can't throw the ball.
Yeah, right. Agreed. But he can run it. Welcome to My Got a Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I preview the 2021 SEC Championship game against the Alabama Crimson Tide. And we answer questions from you, our listeners. As always, remember to check out store.mygotapodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at My Got a Podcast. Finally, if you like what you hear, please subscribe, rate, 5 stars obviously, and review the show. If you leave us a review, you just might hear it on an upcoming episode. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. Did you have any bourbons? Or no bourbons tonight?
I do have some bourbons tonight, Jim. And mine actually comes with a story, so I'll let you go first.
Mine, I've just got larceny. So
You've got larceny. Excellent.
Larceny small batch. Yeah.
I do like larceny. It's fantastic. It's a great bourbon because you can mix it and you can drink it straight. Those are like my favorite kinds. Well, among my favorite kinds, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
Mine is an amalgamation. So have you ever heard of an infinity bottle?
No. Does it involve Thanos? Like no Marvel or anything going?
No, there's no Marvel involved in this. It is basically the concept is that you take a bottle and then you take an empty bottle, obviously, and then slowly add to it the last remnants of your bottles as you finish them. So this is like a mixture of the last little bits of like every bottle that I've finished in the last like year or so.
Okay.
Or at least when I started doing it. And I put it in this cool looking bottle. I don't know if you can see it. It says Redemption.
Mm-hmm.
It's Redemption Distillery. And I put it in there like before the season started because I had a different bottle that it was in, and I decided to put it in here. And it was like before the season started, this Redemption bottle. So I feel like that popping it this week would be redemption for the Bulldogs, because I have a feeling that that's what we're going to see is redemption. And that's what I'm expecting this weekend.
I like it. Well played.
It's all of the bits and pieces of everything that we loved about the last year with the bourbons combined.
Nice. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. I mean, we talked about this a little bit at the end of our tech review, but it's definitely crazy to be here. We're where we all, I'll definitely say hoped we would be. It's where we thought we would be, but that doesn't always work out. It's been a heck of a ride. It's been a lot of fun. Like there's some of those, like if you had told me that JT would only start against Clemson, at the beginning, right, and then miss a game, and then ultimately Stetson Bennett would be the starting quarterback for Georgia, I'm pretty sure there's no way I would have thought that we'd be sitting here 12-0 heading into the SEC Championship as the number one team that had been number one the entire time the playoff poll was out. Like, I would have said no way. And yet here we are. We're now like the guys that defend Stetson. So, I don't know. It's been so it hasn't been like I don't know. It's like we've been beating these teams so badly, and the most anyone scored on us is 17, but it hasn't been without some ups and downs there, and just a lot going on. So I don't know, man. It's been a fun ride. And this is the thing where, like, if we're gonna do this, like we talked about in our season preview, like what if Georgia goes through this whole run and never has to face Alabama, and we talked about like how would we feel about that? And ultimately, basically, we're saying like, oh, I know I said I didn't care, but I did want it to happen, and so now we don't even have to worry about that. Like, and it's one of those things where it's kind of like it has to be them, right? Like we've got to get over this hump, and here we are. It's here. and we've got a shot to do it. So I'm excited.
It's here. It's literally everything that we kind of expected to be. I mean, I predicted that we were going to be 12-0.
Yep.
I had no idea that we would be 12-0 the way that we've become 12-0, because
Hmm.
the the situation with our defense has been something that's just, I mean, it's just absolutely amazing to watch and to see.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot in the last like week or so, like, on our, text message chains and just amongst ourselves, like, I don't know that they're ever going to be able to recreate this.
Hmm.
Dan Lennon's picking up coaching. The coaching carousel is. I mean, two of the teams that we may potentially, if we beat Alabama, when we beat Alabama, the two of the teams that we may potentially face, like, are going to be undergoing head coaching changes. So,
Yeah.
um,
This whole stuff
that's
with
how
Brian
crazy.
Kelly, if Brian Kelly has really already accepted this job and like Notre Dame might make the playoffs still, like that is the craziest of the crazy coaching
Yeah,
carousel. But
yeah,
anyway,
like the absolute craziest. I don't understand it at all. I don't understand why he would leave.
yeah.
Um, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, it's all going according to plan, Jim. just like just just like we predicted. Literally
Uh,
everyone is going to be looking for a new coach.
yeah. You did predict Coach O. You did predict Coach O. We predicted that one.
I did.
All right. Well, let's run through this stuff. So let's look at the matchup. So I'll do my kind of usual rundown. So we've got 4 o'clock kickoff, CBS.
Who are we
Um,
playing again?
yeah, So here's the interesting thing though. When you're playing Alabama in the SEC championship, the game is so big that there are 2 official hashtags. Breaking news. So
What?
yes, because there's one for the SEC championship game, hashtag
Uh,
SECCG, and then it's hashtag Bama versus UGA, which is
got
interesting
it.
because my understanding is that we are the away team, and the way these official hashtags have been working is the away team goes first. So I don't know, maybe they just do alphabetical in the championship game. Who knows? Since
Jim,
it's
as we've
neutral.
as we've surmised, the checks are stroked in Birmingham.
This is true. This is true. So with us being the road team, though, it is expected that we will be in the white jerseys. So I'll go ahead and get that uniform stuff out of the way here. I think the only way that doesn't happen is if for some reason Alabama chooses to wear white as the home team, which I doubt they would do. The weather, partly cloudy, high of 70 and a low of 48. I don't know if that matters. I assume if it's 70, I'm assuming the dome or whatever we call it, the roof will be closed. I would assume. So I don't know if the weather matters or not.
I don't know if it's 70, the roof might be open, man.
Yeah, I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. So, Alabama obviously comes in 11-1, 7-1 in the SEC. Bama definitely has the all-time edge in the series. So we've only won 25 times. They've won 41 with 4 ties. And then with the thing that everyone knows, 6 straight losses to the Tide. Do you remember the last time we beat them?
Wasn't it going all the way back to Sinkwich?
No. The last time we beat Alabama? Yeah, right. Yeah. When Julian Rochester when he was a freshman, when he played with Sinkwich.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so it's 2007, in the year before the year before the infamous blackout, the
The
season of the
infamous
good blackouts,
blackout.
right?
Right.
That was an overtime game. It was also that was the first game that Scott Howard called as the play-by-play guy. Munson did not make the trip to Tuscaloosa, so that was the one and done baby call by Scott Howard, the overtime touchdown from Stafford to Mikey Henderson. The other interesting thing is, as we'll get to at the end when we'll look at the line itself, is Georgia is favored to win the game. Do you know the last time Alabama was an underdog in Vegas?
I don't.
2015 Georgia. They absolutely drug us at home in Rick's last season. And then the last time before that, because I still kind of question that one because I felt like the line moved right at the last second, but I don't know. And the last time before that was the 2009 SEC championship game against Florida, which actually Alabama did. They did win that as well. So this is only the third time they've been, an underdog in over 10 years. So that's pretty crazy.
That is crazy. That's just Darth Saban at his finest.
Yeah. So, what just popped into my head was last year when we previewed Georgia at Alabama. Like I don't know if you remember, like the news broke like right before we hit the record button that Saban had COVID, and we like couldn't focus. And, like all we could talk about was that. Like we couldn't like avoid it. So at least we don't have any of that kind of stuff to talk about this year. So that's a little refreshing.
That's refreshing. We'll have a full stadium, normal scenario, everything.
Yeah. And then this is actually only the third time that we've met each other in the SEC championship game. So that was interesting. So 12, 18, and now 21.
12, 18, yeah, 21. Yep. Makes sense.
So, what was the Patrick Garvin stat? Like it was like Georgia hadn't beat Alabama in Atlanta since it was like the 50s or something, and it's like, well, how many times have we played them in Atlanta since then?
Right.
It's like only like those ones that we can think of, right? Like 12 in the championship game, 17 in the BCS, or not the BCS, college football playoff title game, and then the 18 SEC championship game. So all very recent.
Yeah, literally within the last decade or so.
Right. So yeah, so that was pretty much it for the matchup type stuff. And then let's hit a couple of things for news and notes from the press conference. I did listen to that today, and I'll just focus on the injury.
We got some injury updates, right?
Got some injury updates. Yep. So he said, so we're recording Monday, which is the press conference was today. So he said Jamari Salyer is going to practice today. So he said that like they were actually thinking that Salyer was going to play last week and he had a setback. So he said he had a setback. We'll find out where he's at. It's really up to how he practices. He did not use the word hopeful when talking about Jamari Salyer. So I think there might actually be a chance that Salyer plays. So that's good. On the other hand, Kendall Milton got the dreaded, very short, hopeful to get him back, and then not a whole lot else. So don't think we'll see Kendall Milton based on the hopeful comment. For Kearis Jackson, he did say, we think he's going to be fine. Won't know for sure until he goes out and practices this week. So that sounds promising as well. And then on Chris Smith, a little bit of a mixed bag. He said, we're hopeful he's able to go. We're hopeful he's able to go today. He did some running yesterday. We're hopeful to get him back, but until I see him go out there and practice, I won't know. So
I think that's a first. Again, he's messing with us. We're hopeful to be hopeful.
Right, exactly. There were multiple hopefuls in that one. So those were the injury things, and then he had a money quote. He has his sayings, and this one, and he's said this before, but it was the strength of this team is the team. So it seems to be a bit of a mantra kind of going around right now. So that was it for what I got from the press conference.
Excellent. Anything from the other side of the house? Because as I've read, which I don't know if this is like breaking news or anything like that, but like I know that Saban mentioned that they only have one scholarship running back available for this game.
Yes. So, and I don't know. I do have that. I don't know if that was in today's media availability or whatnot. So Brian Robinson Jr. He's like third in the SEC in rushing yardage wise. And he got injured in the Iron Bowl, has like some sort of, I already forgot how it was referred to, but lower body injury, I think is what they said. And they don't know if he's going to be able to go. And they were already down a couple other guys. So at this point, they're down to Trey Sanders is the only healthy scholarship running back that they've got right now. They were kind of doing a 4-guy rotation similar to what we were doing. And they already were down 2 guys, and now down their leading rusher. So
Yeah, and to put that in context, Brian Robinson Jr. has over 1,000. He's over 1,000 yards rushing for the season.
yeah, yeah,
The
yep,
guy that's backing him up, the next closest guy is 284 yards. So they are missing a ton of experience coming into that. Not to mention the fact that he's got 14 of the 20 touchdowns that they have rushing.
yeah, yeah. So the guy that you mentioned that has 284 yards, like that's Williams, and he's also out. So it's the next guy that can play, right?
The next guy down. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Trey Sanders. So he's like third on the team in rushing yards at
So,
least.
so, so they're missing almost 1,300 yards rushing out of the 1,800 that they have on the season, and 15 of the 20 touchdowns.
Yes. I don't know if you could just hear me like breathe in. Like I don't know how to handle like what this stuff. Like before we totally dive in, it's like I don't know. Like I'm having a hard time. I talked to my dad today. I talked to my dad for a long time today. So shout out Frip Dog. And
What did old Fripp have to say?
oh, I can't. I know I texted you. I was like, I should have recorded my phone call with my dad today. It was amazing. But like, the thing that I said to him was, it's like, I feel like a lot of times with these big games, right? Like my heart is telling me we're going to win, but then there's something like in my head that says, well, maybe we won't, right? And here it's like my head is telling me we're going to win, and then my heart is like, they burned us before. So I don't know, that's where I'm just feeling very weird about this game. It's new territory for us. Yeah, it's like new territory for us, and like I don't know how to handle it yet. And once I do, it's going to be awesome, but it's just a different feeling, so all right, well, do you want to start walking through the actual, like, kind of what we're looking for type stuff, and start with our offense? Or
Yeah, let's go. How about you?
Okay.
You kick us off on the offensive side.
Okay, so it's interesting because this seems to be the matchup that no one's talking about. Like if you listen to the national media, if you listen to the Southeast media, everyone's focusing on the other matchup. But here, I mean, I think everyone is essentially, I think basically Georgia's great defense has just overshadowed the offense, and people are forgetting that, hey, Georgia's offense is actually pretty good too, right? And I mean, from what I have watched of Alabama, and that's not that I've done like deep film review or anything, but this is not like what we've come to know as an Alabama defense, right? A Nick Saban defense. It doesn't look the same. I mean, Will Anderson obviously is, an amazing talent. He is the best player on the team. He leads the SEC with 14 and a half sacks. He's in different position, but like a Jordan Davis, in that, like, the impact that he has on the team, he's the best player. He's also getting Heisman talk as a defensive player. But he can't be everywhere, and he can't do everything. So I feel good about our offense. I'm very interested to see a couple of things, like on the injury front, right? Like if we get Jamari Salyer back, that's going to be a big deal, and it will be interesting to see what we do with the offensive line, right?
Okay.
If Salyer is in, what happens? Like, does Jones stay in, right? Like, so is it just a swap back out at left tackle, or does Jones stay in the lineup and even at left tackle, and then Salyer is back in the lineup but as a guard, and all that kind of stuff, right? So that'll be interesting to see. So first time Georgia gets the ball, that's definitely something to watch for, right? When that flashes up on the screen, is who's the starting five in the offensive line. But I mean, and then also Kyrus, right? So I think he could be just his sure-handedness. I think will be big for us. Um, and then I again, like we've been. I don't know actually. I guess kind of question for you, like like last week against Tech, it seemed like we kind of threw first to throw to set up the run, right? Instead of kind of what we've seen Georgia do more in the past. Um, Feels kind of like that could be the same here. I know, like Arkansas, for example, threw a lot on these guys. Um, I don't know if you have some kind of thoughts there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that from an offensive perspective, you know, obviously you have to kind of take into their defense into some of this equation as well. So my takeaway is that if I'm Alabama, they're actually like they're doing just as well stopping the run as we are. They're obviously not quite as good, but you look at their rushing statistics, what they're giving up on the ground from the defensive side, in our like rushing yards, yards per play, all that kind of stuff. They're pretty close to everything. Overall, they're giving up 200. Or sorry, they're giving up almost 300 yards per game, just
Mm-hmm.
total. We're giving up 229 yards. Um, from
Yeah.
a from an like their defense is pretty good. I mean, the rushing yards 967 to 947 is what their defense is giving up versus our defense. So they're doing pretty good.
Okay.
Um, so what I expect is that they are going to be selling out to stop the run because that is the strength of their defense is to stop the run. Now, where they've gotten in trouble is the pass is in the passing game. They're nowhere. They're middle of the pack from a passing game defense standpoint. Um, Everything
Okay.
else, they match up pretty well with us in terms of what they do good versus what we do good. The That leads me to believe that they're probably going to sell out to stop the run just so that they can play to their strengths,
Mm-hmm.
which means that they're going to do everything that they can to make sure that we can't get yards on the ground, get short yards, get into third and mediums, second and mediums. Um, they're going to keep the chain. They're going to play ahead of the chains, so to speak,
Yeah.
and basically make Stetson beat you,
Yeah.
which I feel like has been a recipe for disaster for every team that's tried that. So I don't know, man. I'm conflicted with how I would, as a defensive coordinator on the other side of the ball. There's guys that were up. There's probably guys that have been up like round the clock trying to figure out what they're going to do
Mm-hmm.
um, from a defensive side of things to stop our offense because you basically pick your poison. It's like, okay, well, we're going to sell out to try to stop the run. Well, we'll just flare guys out and just throw to James Cook. We'll throw to Kenny McIntosh.
Mm-hmm.
We'll throw to Brock Bowers. We'll throw to any of the other receivers we have out there. So if you sell it to stop the run, that means that you're going to be in man coverage an awful lot, which I think is going to be a recipe for disaster because somebody with some immense skill is going to be open downfield. And Lord help you if either one of those is Brock Bowers or or Washington, Darnell Washington,
Yeah.
um, you're going to be in a mixed match. So I think that they're going to try to isolate guys. They're going to try to isolate defenders, try to get mismatches where Brock Bowers is flared out wide on a linebacker. I expect we'll probably see a lot of moving around of pieces, trying to see who's on who, so that we can get those matchups that we're trying to get. I don't have any problem. I just don't think that Monken is going to have any problem finding yards.
Yeah.
I just think that we're probably going to be a little bit riskier than we normally have been, which, Stetson Bennett haters, avert your eyes kind of thing. Like Stetson may be spraying the ball all over the field.
Yeah.
Um,
So you
and that's
think you
kind of what
think you think
that's
we could
kind of
see
what I
more
expect
than
on both sides.
you think we could see more than 20 pass attempts from Stetson Bennett? Is what you're saying?
We could. I think it's very
Yeah.
easy that we could.
Yeah.
A lot of that's going to depend on how we perform on first and second down, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that, and field position is going to come into that as well. Um, I just think that we'll be able to move the ball on these guys through the air early, which will
Yeah.
then potentially set up the run later on. But kind of expect that we're going to see a quiet game from our running backs, and it's all going to be Stetson Bennett and our wide receivers / tight ends.
Yeah, I am curious to see. James Cook. James Cook has kind of had the hot hand lately, and he was a
Mm-hmm.
starter against Georgia Tech. So I am curious to see who comes out as the starter, and then also like who's hot and do we stick with that guy? Which I think we do. We've been pretty good about doing that. But I mean, this is the game. Like we're running into what the question has been right for the last 3 years. Can Georgia's offense outscore someone? Like this defense is so good though that I'm not sure that's even still the right question. But you know what I mean, right? Like what will happen to Georgia when they run up against a stout passing attack? And I'm putting that like we'll talk about our defense in a minute, but the concern had kept being like, can Stetson do that? And I think he can. This is not the same Stetson Bennett as last year. He has progressed and grown so much. I think we're kind of over the whole who should be starting kind of thing now. I know you and I are at least, and I think everyone should be. So I'm excited to see what he does there. And you were throwing out the names that he's going to be throwing to. Let's not forget the law firm connection with McConkey.
Yeah.
And then who knows with Pickens? We'll see. I don't know what will happen with him, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I think that there's a number of things that can happen here. In order for Alabama to win, Georgia is going to have to make mistakes, and so
Mm-hmm.
if you have Stetson performing like he did in the last game that these guys met, where he threw for 3 interceptions, um, you know, he threw 40 pass attempts in that game against Alabama previously.
I think that too was also like that. I've said this before. I don't know that I've said it on here, but I know I've said it to you and John and Hunter at least. That was Monken's worst game as a play caller at Georgia. Um, and I don't know if it was definitively him or the coaching staff as a whole, but once we were down by 7, it was like, oh my gosh, we have to throw the ball, and they kind of panicked, and like the run game was working in that game and totally abandoned it. I'm not worried about that kind of thing happening this year. That's where I just feel so much more confident in not only our players but also our staff and the plan they are going to have to go up against these guys. So
mhm.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, both of these teams are very different from last year, right?
they're very different from last year for sure. I just think that I don't know having a full season at this point, full fall, full spring with
Mm-hmm.
Monken. I mean, the Stetson Bennett of last year is a thing of the past. I mean, he has progressed
Yeah.
as a play caller, as a quarterback, as a game manager, as a deep threat. Yeah, even he has progressed so much more than what he was last year. So it's almost not. It's almost unfair to compare the Stetson Bennett from last year to the Stetson Bennett of this year. But if you were just looking at straight up, that's what he did last year. So last year he was averaging 6.7 yards you know, per attempt. He threw for 40 passes and 18 completions. So the completion percentage is not that great. I mean, I think I would watch this space and see like what happens there. Um, this year he's averaging substantially higher from a yards per attempt standpoint. I don't know that he's thrown for 40. I don't know that he's thrown 40 attempts at all this season, has he?
No, no,
The
yeah. I mean,
closest
it's
he
been
came was
like
Tennessee.
okay, yeah, that sounds right.
He threw 29. He threw 29 passes against Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, he's hardly thrown the ball in the fourth quarter, which is part of that, right? Because we've been up
Mm-hmm.
by so much. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with the offensive side.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we're going to be able to move the ball. We should be able to move the ball. And as long as, if we don't turn the ball over, I just don't
Yeah.
see any way that they're able to beat us. If we start turning the ball over, things could start getting closer. If we start having 3 turnovers on the offensive side, then it could be a long day in Atlanta for everybody.
Yeah. And I will say too, like I felt like, what we saw out of the offense against Georgia Tech was a lot cleaner than we had seen the last couple of weeks. And like the incompletions were not like near interceptions, right? So Stetson was still
Mm-hmm.
putting the ball, even when it was an incompletion, it was either a drop or it was in a place, the ball was put in a place where there wasn't a chance for an interception. So yeah, definitely got to protect the ball. All right. You want to flip to the other side? Talk about our.
Yes, I do. However, I will. I'll tie a stat to transition us to this.
Okay.
So the big stat that I want to kind of call out here is that as much maligned as we've here on the podcast have been with the inconsistency along the offensive line, I do think that there should be. I personally think, and I know that we've talked about this. I've seen Graham has harped on this. We've talked about it on the text thread as well. Like, I think at this point, Warren Erickson is a lost cause, at least for the season. Like, he is the liability of the offensive line at the guard position.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that with, if we can get Sawyer back, like that could potentially free up a weak link in the offensive line. But like if it doesn't, if we just roll out there with the same kind of personnel that we did in the Georgia Tech game, I would hope that Xavier Truss gets a look early on in the rotation and that he starts to pick it up and they see that and they pick up on that, because it seems like Warren Erickson is a liability. But that said, we've only given up 8 sacks on the season. Alabama gave up 7 against Auburn.
Yeah.
If they
Yeah.
give up that many sacks to us, like I don't know, man. Bryce Young may be walking out of there on crutches, dude. Because I don't know, like the way that he was running around, and this is kind of how we'll transition to the defense side, right? So
Mhm.
um, they're giving up. He's been. I think how many times has he's been sacked? They've given up 35 sacks this
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen from the film review, is just like on our offensive line, their offensive line weakness is number 74. That's a number that I think everybody out there should be on the lookout to watch. Is what's going on with number 74, and you'll know who it is if you look look at the person running towards their quarterback, because he appears to be trying to run to his quarterback every single time. The
Yeah.
guy's name is Damian George Jr. He's a sophomore from Houston.
Okay.
He's a
He's the
big
right.
boy.
He's the right tackle. Right.
I believe he's the right tackle. Yeah. Sometimes I think they have another offensive lineman lined up as a tight end to kind of protect him.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but whenever 74 is on the field, and if you see a Channing Tindall or someone, Jalen Carter, if you see someone like that lined up with him, like, holy cow, watch out, especially if they're isolated on him.
Mm-hmm.
If they've got help, if they double team trying to protect him, that's only going to free up someone else somewhere, like Nolan Smith or Nakobe Dean to come in, or even off of a corner blitz. That's what I think from a defensive side. We're going to be picking on this guy all day, all game long, and that's kind of been the MO for teams, is that if you put Bryce under pressure and you just blitz, and I think John posted the Remember the Titans kind of clip, like this is the game plan for this is the game plan for this
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Dan Lanning explaining what the game plan is, that it was, we're gonna blitz all night long.
Yes. 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 Uh, yeah. I totally quoted "Remember the Titans" when I talked to my dad today. But like, I know. So Saturday night after our game, I was on in one of those Twitter Spaces, and it was Graham was on it, and then who else? So it was Vern Funquist, Chris Marlar, right, the Saturday Down South guy, and then Brooks Austin, and then a couple of people I was not as familiar with, but you know, Chris Marlar is a Bama guy, right? And that's he was harping on the offensive line, and he was saying that it's the worst offensive line Alabama has had since, and I forget the year. I feel like he was saying like since Saban's been there, or since like Saban's second year, or something like that. And I mean, that's not to say that they're a horrible offensive line, but they're, again, to like Alabama standards, they're not there. And I mean, transitive property doesn't work very well in football, but like I know how our offensive line held up against Auburn's pass rush, right? And that was a heck of a lot better than how I saw Alabama hold up against the Auburn pass rush. I mean, they were in the backfield all night, and I think if they hadn't let off the gas on that last drive, I think Auburn wins this game, or wins that game in the Iron Bowl. I don't know exactly why they switched that up, but again, it's not. I don't know, not the same kind of Bama line that you're accustomed to seeing. Now, having said that, though, I mean, obviously, Bryce Young is a Heisman candidate quarterback. Although I disagree that he had a Heisman moment last weekend, but whatever.
I take issue with that. As I was watching the film for this,
Yeah,
I think Bryce had the opposite of a Heisman moment.
Yeah, he didn't have a good game. There's the one
there were
drive.
there were multiple situations, and it just so happened to be in that drive that the offensive line decided it wanted to start playing. Like basically, the offensive line decided that it wanted to start playing with 2 minutes left in the game.
Well, on Auburn stopped blitzing though. Auburn didn't blitz. Auburn was dropping back into coverage, and they took advantage. So
they were still going. They were still going after number 74 because
Okay.
I was watching that the whole way through. It was like, what are they doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? I mean, they were still going after him. He just decided to start blocking, I guess. I don't know, but there's definitely is some there's some tendency there for that guy to get beat off of speed rush, swim move, using defensive linemen using their hands. Like he got bossed, and he wasn't the only one. The center had struggled as well, but like he was the most egregious one off the edge that I saw. And this is something that I hope that Lanning and Co. were cognizant of this, is that Bryce, to his credit, does have that ability to step up into the pocket, and if we lose contain on him, he's going to do some damage, and that's where some of my frustration with like all the praise for Bryce Young is that in the game films that I saw against the teams that they struggled with, and I'm looking at Arkansas and Auburn specifically, the breakdowns for him were whenever they had the pass rush and they lost contain, he was able to basically just run around and had forever to throw the ball. He eventually got sacked a few times. He made some dumb decisions. He didn't throw the ball away on some scenarios. He kind of panicked in multiple ways. But to his credit, he does have that ability to step up into the pocket. And if the space is there, he's willing to go and take it. Not only that, but like he's looking downfield. So as he gets to the line of scrimmage to, make a decision between whether or not he's going to throw the ball or run it, tuck it and run, he'll find, Mitchie or I'm blanking, Williamson?
Yeah, Williams.
Williams. Yeah. He finds Williams wide open, and those guys are fast, dude. So, to his credit, like he lets those guys get open. And I saw Mitchie do that a few times where he just basically ran to open space, turn around and see if your quarterback can throw you the ball. And that's it was backyard football at its finest on multiple occasions. And I just don't know that they're going to have that kind of time against our defense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, this is, the test of what we were worried about in the offseason, right? Like, okay, yeah, inexperienced, quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes. I know this is an audio medium. inexperienced secondary, right? Who was the concern heading into the season. Not so much anymore, but um, the pass rush is a great equalizer for that, even if that was the case. And with what we've got up front, I expect us to be able to get pressure, and that's going to help there. I think the other thing to point out, like you just mentioned Mechie and you mentioned Williams. I mean, those guys are both like they're studs. I was texting with one of my buddies that went to Bama today, and he was talking about like a lot of the places where they've seen a significant drop off, and receiver was one of them. And I guess it's right, but it's I guess like is Williams as good as Devonta Smith or whatever, but like still they've got the number one receiver yardage wise in the SEC in Williams and like number 4 in Mechie. So if you flipped over and the most you've watched of Alabama was the second half of the Auburn game, like after our game was over, you saw a lot of Mechie, but just a reminder, Williams got ejected for targeting on special teams, late in the first half, and was entirely out of the Auburn game for the second half. That guy, I think Mechie is bigger like on volume, so he's got 29 more catches than Williams, but like 200 less yards and 6 less touchdowns. So Williams is their home run guy, and then Mechie also very fast, but is going to get probably more volume catches. But Jameson Williams is the one that hits the home run. So we've got to watch out for him. And I think the closest thing that we've seen, Arkansas can throw the ball, but they didn't against us really at all. I think Tennessee is probably the closest comparison we can make as far as what we've seen to date, as far as offenses, airing it out and throwing the ball. And it took us a minute, right? I mean, first drive, they marched right down the field. So that's the other thing is like, load up your Kirby gif of we're family friendly, but the calm the F down gif, like they may do something early, right? Something could happen. They could have an explosive play. Their first scripted drive may be otherworldly. They're not going to come out and look like they did against Auburn. I'm going to tell you that right now. Nick Saban is the best coach in the history of college football. He is going to have a plan. His staff is going to have a plan. Will the plan work for 4 quarters? That's what's going to be the question there. So,
yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It'll be a nice little chess match, I think, because we're not going to be able to. I don't know. I think that the MO here is like, okay, you can blitz Bryce Young only so much, because he'll probably find these fast, squirrely guys that are great at running routes, that are quick. He'll have opportunity to find them. They're both. I mean, they both have over 1,000 yards receiving, which is just mind boggling. But again, like you said, they're basically their only receivers. Like it's Williams and Mechie. Like everyone else has got 19, 20 catches. I mean, Billingsley has a lot of catches, but like, I mean, it's not anything to necessarily write home about to be overly concerned. Like you said, Williams has 13 touchdowns. Mechie has 7. One of their tight ends, Latu. He's got 6 touchdowns, and then from there down, it's like onesie twosie touchdowns. Like the bulk of this is that, and like you said, Mechie has 30 more receptions, which I took that based on what I saw from the film. Like you said, Williams was like the home run guy. He was like that George Pickens, like out wide, that AJ Green type character out wide, and then Mechie was kind of like that shifty slot receiver that's running slants, running quick outs. He's running a what do you call it? Just like pass it into the flat and let him run up. Those kind of passes that are basically like they get logged as passing plays, but they're largely runs. I don't know.
I think they're going to have to do that, right? That's going to have to be their running game.
I think that if we shut Mechie down, I really like our chances to run away with this. I think that he's going to be the key because, like you said, that volume is there. I'm
Yeah.
sure that they're going to hit Williams out wide. I just don't know that they're going to hit him enough times, and that they're going to get enough that Bryce Young is going to have enough time to hit him like in stride deep more than maybe once or twice.
Mm.
Um, they might be able to hit him a couple times, but I just don't know that he's going to be able to have the kind of time that he had against Auburn, that he had against Arkansas to throw it over our DBs.
Right.
It'll be an interesting game to see how Kendrick does against him, because I assume that he'll be matched up with him out wide. And I think that we mentioned this, that Poole got some work at the star position, which I
Yep.
think is going to be important to try to shut down some of those like quick slants and things like that that Mechie is kind of. I mean, he kind of really makes his yardage that way, is
Hmm.
just hit him quickly, and he makes a man miss, which is another thing that I saw that I just don't think that and anticipate that we're going to be missing tackles the ways that some of these guys have been.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah,
So
I saw a lot of
anyway,
that in Arkansas. I was rewatching some of the Arkansas earlier today. I saw a lot of missed tackles on their
and the
long
other thing,
plays.
and the other thing that I saw that I just don't anticipate was just like the overall lateral speed that they had. Auburn and Arkansas do not have the lateral speed that we do to
Yeah.
get out there for those quick passes and things like that. So when you think about Nakobe Dean trying to run down Mechie out wide, like Tyndall, dropping into coverage.
Hmm.
I just don't know that. I just don't know that they're going to have the kind of time that they are used to, and that they're going to have missed tackles like that they're used to
Yeah.
in some of these games.
Yeah. I agree. I am again. I'm curious to see what what we do like with the linebackers, because we have seen some of those. We have seen at times now with basically all of our inside linebackers, our primary 3-man rotation, all on the field at the same time. So that being Dean, Walker, and Tyndall. Curious to see how much, if any, of that we see. But yeah, man, Tyndall's so fast. I mean, his lateral speed is ridiculous. I mean, he's as fast, if not faster, than what we saw from Roquan years ago. I think Dean is that leader like Roquan was, but Tyndall's got the speed like him. So
Mm-hmm.
okay,
We'll see, man. We'll see, man. I'm hoping that
yep,
they get enough pressure. I'm hoping that they get enough pressure on this guy that the pocket collapses in on him,
yep,
and that losing contain is the thing that is going to like
hmm,
frustrate the hell out of me. When I
yep,
was at the Missouri game, that was the frustration that I had, was that their quarterback was able to pick up yards because we just lost contain because we were overrunning things.
hmm,
I really hope that if we can be disciplined along the defensive line and keep him in front of us, that
yep,
eventually he's going to collapse.
yep, yep. Okay, all right. I got a couple of quick thoughts on special teams, and really just a couple of things. First is like I think on our side, I feel like we've kind of seen a resurgence of the special teams. Things have been very good. Again, we don't know if we'll have Kieris or not, but I'm confident in Lad McConkey returning punts if Kieris can't go. But again, hopefully Kieris can. Kieris sees a lot of that hidden yardage, taking those punts on the roll kind of thing. So obviously that's a factor. But then on the Bama side, like remember, like Bama kickers, never know, never know with Bama kickers. I know like all Alabama like held their breath when their kicker had to make a field goal to tie the game up against in the Iron Bowl in the second overtime. So that's something to watch. The only other thing I will say to watch out for is, does Saban try to steal a possession at some point, and whether it be an onside kick, fake punt, something along those lines. Just something to watch out for. We've seen him do that in big moments in the past. So those are the only special teams thoughts I had.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that Saban should be watching out for the jump pass on fourth down, which, part of me hopes that Kirby and them saw that play there. But I think that I don't know that we're going to see any kind of trickeration from either side. The only thing that I could potentially see happening like that is where Alabama just needs a spark and because they're getting their tail
Mhm.
kicked. So when the trick plays for Saban start coming out, I fully will smell and detect blood in the water that he doesn't think that they can win this game if he starts busting out his trick plays. At least we don't have to deal with the swirling winds.
Exactly. I'm so glad you said that. I literally just thought that in my head and hadn't gotten it out yet. Totally agree. That's another thing to watch for. Not going to happen regardless. But if the roof is closed, it's certainly not happening.
Yeah, I don't know. Part of me have you been to Mercedes Benz with the roof open
Yes, for an Atlanta United game.
for Atlanta United, right?
Yeah.
So on those nice afternoons, evenings that are cool, not too humid, like there's nothing nicer than just to sit back and relax and just look up and just see the sky. So if it's a high of 70, which I think by 3 o'clock that's probably going to be hitting the high, so it'll start cooling off as the
Mhm.
game goes on.
Yeah.
I personally am rooting for the roof to be open just for those experiencing the game because I think that's going to be that would be a cool thing. But my suspicion is the roof will be closed.
Yeah, that would really surprise me if the roof was open. So, all right, let's hit the listener questions. Um,
We love our listeners.
First up, J Rake T. After watching the Iron Bowl, I have hope, and it terrifies me. Any breathing exercises you recommend for watching the SEC championship game? I've already got a comfy pair of shoes picked out for all the pacing I'll do, and I've already pre-apologized to my wife. So first off, I feel like those are some excellent stakes, some excellent steps that you have already taken. I,
He
yeah,
he showed up early. He showed up early. He's elite. He's ready to go. I like it. He's got the comfy shoes. The question would be is like what comfy shoes are we thinking are most ideal for pacing in your home?
See, this is something that is big for me that I've done. Between last season and this season, was I bought some Nike like gym shoes, basically. Like cross training kind of or whatever, or like workout shoes or whatever. And they are my house shoes, so they're quite comfortable. They've got like a nice insole in them, and they are red and black. So like I wear them. Those are my indoor shoes when it's game day. I don't feel the need to like, hey, I gotta go put on some different shoes. My shoes are a weird color or whatever, So I don't know. So that I've been happy with that. I know what is it like the dudes or whatever that Hunter has?
Hey dudes. Hey
Yeah,
dudes.
I don't know. I don't know if those are good ones or not, but
I hear they're pretty good.
yeah. So I don't know that I have any breathing exercises. I don't really have any ideas there. I think you've taken some good steps already. I would say also like hydrate, and maybe have a nice snack around handy. Maybe some bean dip. I don't know. That always helps me.
Munching on food helps calm your nerves.
That's right. And
I would say just
like when I say hydrate, like have some water around because I like nervously sip. So if I only have like beer with me, like it's a bad situation because I go through it like way too fast. So I definitely make sure to always have a water on hand so that I don't just sit there and like drink beer through the game. That's an improvement. Well, for me, because like I can follow the game a lot better now since I've made that change within the past few years. Yes, definitely helpful. So yeah,
Oh man, I would just say just breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth.
that's right.
That's just the breathing exercises that I would do. I like to stretch, like when I'm sitting there watching the game at home. Like I'll stand up and like stretch, or like sit down and like stretch out while the game's on.
Yeah.
That helps me to stay loose. You mentioned hydrate, like the workout crew that I work out with. They've been big proponents of liquid IV, which I just purchased like a whole like Black Friday like package through them that was 30% off.
Okay.
Not a sponsor. But that stuff works, man. I'll tell you what, like you drink that a few days ahead of time and day of or whatever, and especially like right before you go to bed, you will feel fantastic.
Nice. Maybe they need to be a sponsor. We're open to
I
it.
know,
We're
maybe.
open to
Yeah.
it.
Get an affiliate link.
Exactly. All right. Next up is M Dubs. We know him as Hey Michael Smith, friend of the show. So, given all the personnel adjustments we've made on the offensive line and defensive backfield, who should the starters be for those groups this week? I think we talked through that a little bit. I will say with the offensive line, I think kind of what we are thinking slash hoping. I would say, leave Jones at left tackle, and then if Salyer can play, I'd like to see Salyer at left guard. Obviously, Van Pran at center. I would shift Schaefer to right guard, and then you've got McClendon at right tackle. If Salyer can't go, I think obviously Schaefer stays at left guard. Would love to see Truss get more playing time at right guard. We've seen Graham talk about that a lot on the Twitters and on Dog Sports Live. And I have said on here, like when he came in, it kind of felt like the move to Ben Cleveland in 2017, but it hasn't stuck for whatever reason. So that's it for the line. What I would like to see. I don't know any disagreements there. You good with that?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that lineup at all.
And then with the secondary, I kind of had some thoughts together for that too. Again, I think it depends on can Christopher Smith go or not. So thinking about the general, 5 defensive backs, we're going to have, Ringo and Kendrick are going to be the corners, period. The question is the star, right? So if Smith can go, I think Smith starts at the star position, like what we ended up with in the Tennessee game. And then that means you've got Scene and Dan Jackson at the safeties. And then obviously if Smith can't go, I think you've still got Scene and Dan Jackson at safety. And then you've got, I think you would see that rotation, right, of Breeny and Poole at the star. That's what I expect to see. I think it all hinges on Smith, right, on if he can go or not. Okay.
No, I think that's all. I mean, that all makes sense to me. I mean,
Okay.
Obviously we're going to have people rotating in, so I don't know that necessarily
Yeah.
truly matters. But yeah, it's all good. Tell you what, man, we haven't heard. I don't know, man. Can you imagine what it might have been like if we had Tyke out there?
I know. I have thought about that, and I'll say too. Like I follow him on Twitter, and he doesn't tweet like a lot, but I have seen him still tweet stuff about the team and some stuff about his guys and everything. So I think that's cool. I mean, it's his first year in here. He just came from a different school. It's cool to see him still engaged and be part of the team. That's been pretty cool to see. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we'll see him back next year or not. He's got eligibility left, so we will see. All right, Fletcher Proctor. How big of a role will George Pickens play? Decoy, or will we see him at least attempt one deep route? What do you think?
What was his participation in the last game?
Like how many? I don't know. I don't know the snap count. He came in. He was in for a play like on the first drive, right? And then he had one catch, from what I recall. He was in the game on that long McIntosh run, I think, because I believe I remember them like celebrating together in the end zone. So I mean, he played a decent amount of snaps. I feel like someone in the text thread was saying that like there was a play where like he was looking at Pickens, Stetson. Stetson was like looking like at Pickens on a deep route, but he was covered, so he peeled off and threw to somebody else. So I don't know. I'm again, obviously, like we said, we found out that it was likely he was going to play, but I'm still kind of shocked. Like as far as like when the injury happened, beginning of the season, like we heard the talk of maybe he'll be back. I'm still pretty shocked. Again, it's amazing, just from a recovery standpoint and a medical standpoint. That he's been able to do that. Guy must be a pretty fast healer, and a testament to the doctors, the surgery, and all the trainers who've helped him, strength staff, and everything. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't know. I would say, obviously decoy at a minimum, but I don't think he will have how big of a role? I don't think it will be a big role, but he may have a catch or two. I, I'd probably set George Pickens catches over under at 1.5 for this game.
I would say that's probably fair. I figure he would at most have
Yeah.
two. I mean, he'll be out there. I mean, if he can block, I think he'll be out there for sure. Like if he can provide blocking ability on the outside, which we have discussed that on the podcast, that's actually been one of the weak points of the running game is that being the wide receivers being able to hold their blocks, certain wide receivers being able to hold their blocks. So
Yeah.
if he can contribute to the running game and contribute to being at least maybe he holds a safety or holds a defensive back out there, but just the fact that he's on the field as a threat. Because I promise you, if they leave him wide open, they're going to throw it to him.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. Next up, SSI Dog. Has Monken been holding back having Washington and Bowers both run routes to the end zone when we get to the red zone? Bowers' touchdown against Tech was 100 points. Oh, wait. The way I copied and pasted this got me thrown off. Bowers' TD against Tech was 100. No one can match up with those two if you throw it up high. Seems unstoppable. And then he said, how many targets does zero being Washington have in the red zone this year? That I have no idea on. I didn't look it up. What do you think? I don't know. I don't know that he's been so much like quote unquote holding it back. I think at this point, like, maybe there's a couple of things up your sleeve, but I think we've pretty much seen the offense at this point, I would think.
I mean, Jordan Davis ran for a touchdown, guys. I don't know that we're holding anything back.
Agreed. Fair.
Yeah. No, yeah. I don't think that we're holding anything back at all.
I don't think so either. Okay.
I think we're going to see it. I think we're going to see heavy doses. I think we're going to see heavy doses of Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington. I think that if I was on the Alabama side of the field, I would be doing everything that could to try to shut that down. Because it does seem that like certain games, there were games that we didn't hear anything about Brock Bowers.
Yes.
But
yes.
The good thing is that other people stepped up. So that's it really is kind of a pick your poison with this offense. Like we're gonna shut down the run. Oh well, shoot, we just got burned by Brock Bowers for 200 yards. Like, dude, good luck.
Yep, totally agree. All right, 51-7, GATA. I love this question. Who is Alabama's backup quarterback, and should we worry? This seems to be important when the game is in Atlanta. So I actually had to do a little digging to see.
I did a little digging too.
Who he was. So I'm curious to see if we came up with the same guy because, stats. Because it sounds like there was some conversation about this early on in the season on who was going to be the backup. So from what I could tell, it's Paul Tyson. He does not have a lot of stats though, so he's 10 of 16 for 150 yards. The next closest guy to play this season is Jalen Milroe. He is 3 of 7 for 41 yards with 1 touchdown. So it's not like there's a Hurts or a Tua that's like somewhat proven. I mean, I know I've got a bunch of Bama buddies, and like I know one guy in particular had been calling for Tua all season in 17. Like there's not a guy like that. Like it's Bryce Young. So I don't think you have to worry so much about the nightmare stuff. Fun fact, the last quarterback that has taken snaps, or at least shows up in the stats for Alabama, is Braxton Barker. Does that name sound familiar?
It does. I mean, I guess it does in the sense that it just sounds like an Ohio State quarterback.
So, son of Jay Barker, Bama quarterback of the 90s. Early 90s, Jay Barker was the quarterback at Alabama. So it's his son. I think he's like a sports talk radio guy in Birmingham these days. I think. I could have that wrong. I'm not sure. But he's there as well. So those are the guys. But I don't think I don't think so much we got to worry about that like before. I should, and I just knocked on my head as to knock on wood. So
I have a
um,
feeling. I have a feeling they just threw young Braxton a bone by giving
yeah,
him at
yeah,
least one pass attempt.
yeah. One for one. Yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. He's got a hell of a quarterback rating.
My question is, I need to see I need to look up a picture of him. I wonder if he looks like the quintessential like late '90s, early 2000s Bama quarterback, like with what I used to call the Bama Bangs. I don't know if you remember
He told
Bama Bangs. Like he's got to
he
look like
he
that, like the
he
2000s frat
he
guy.
he does. He does. He doesn't look like he has. He doesn't quite have like Brody Croyle type hair, but it
Yes,
definitely has
Brody.
the.
Okay, Brody Croyle. Brody Croyle is exactly like who I had in my head when I was saying that.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah.
fun thing. I don't know if we were talking about this before. Like, if you ever, some people are like, "Is that an Atlanta Braves A or is it an Alabama A?" And just remember that the Alabama A has Bama Bangs on the top of it. So that's how you can always distinguish between the two A's. Um, okay, let's see. The DGD podcast. Do you think Trayvon Walker will be the X factor in this game coming off the right side? We saw what the right side of Bama's O line looked like against Auburn. So DGD podcast has similar thoughts as you. Definitely a possibility. I think out of whoever is over there on the right side um, looks good to me.
I have a feeling that if we've got Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis in the game on those early downs or whatever, like I mean,
Mm.
whoever's lined up out wide on number 74 is going to have an opportunity to feast.
Yep, for sure, for sure. Let's see, Mountain to the Seas. That's our buddy Greg. Does Alabama try and
Greg.
consistently? Does Alabama try and consistently double team number 99? Tech had limited success doing this, and it just led to another person making the play. Might require more rotation in the second half. Welcome your thoughts. So, double teaming Jordan Davis.
So their center struggles. The center struggles.
Okay.
So I mentioned that earlier that there's definitely some problems that they have in the interior of the offensive line because they got blown up on short yardage downs against Auburn. Like you saw that. Like there were multiple times when they had to run for the first down and they couldn't do it because literally someone from the linebacking core for Auburn was already into the backfield because they got such a push right up the gut. So, guys, the Auburn defensive line and the Arkansas defensive line, while certainly good, solid SEC lines, like those guys are nothing like Jordan Davis. I don't think that they're going to have any option but to double team Jordan Davis, and to the point where one of those things that happens when you can't block is you start moving the pocket. So I fully expect that they will eventually start moving the pocket around to try to account for some of that. We'll probably see some screens, some wide receiver screens. One of the things that I saw Bama employ a good bit was the bunch receiver formation out wide with either Mechie or Williams lined up either in behind at the back of the bunch or at the top. Most of the time, Williams is at the top of the formation in the bunch because he's going to be getting leverage on the inside and Mechie's going to be getting leverage or vice versa, the interchange them. But either way, like it sets up nicely for you to have a quick swing pass out to Mechie. So I don't know, man. I think that there's going to be a lot of movement that happens on that offensive line to account for some of the shortcomings that they're going to have and that they're going to have to account for on our team to slow our guys down. I don't know that they're going to be able to do it though.
Yeah, agreed. And I'll say I hope they double team Jordan Davis because I think, as Jordan says, when there's two on me, someone's free. So I like that. Also,
Exactly.
some might call what you ended up doing, I'm sure you didn't do this on purpose, but there's a nice segue into the next question from Chris Cohen, 18. Alabama makes a living using crossing routes. How does Georgia's defense stop them? So funny thing too, this is one of the things where I almost, when you brought up that bunch formation, I was like, did you talk to my dad today too? Because that was one of the things that he brought up to me was that bunch formation, and he was like giving me his solution to that. And I was like, I got a question about crossing routes. I was like, this is perfect, because he mentioned that to them to do that out of that formation. So talk about that a little bit.
What did Fripp Dog have to say? What did old Lou have to say?
Well, he was talking about like who we have inside is key there, and so he you know, he does what you and I tend to do sometimes too, and like, you know, we refer to people by their numbers sometimes, even when we know who they are. He's like, you know, they come across the middle and we got number 7 in there, you know, he's going to put a hit on them. So what, you know, like, you know, so have, you know, with those inside linebackers and the guys running those crossing routes, and again, like we talked about, the speed of our linebackers. Because I mean, it's going to be a mixture, right? So maybe you've got one of the corners, the star, and a linebacker, you know, or maybe a safety. I don't know. Like, you know, again, it'll be interesting to see how we line up against that formation. They do it a lot, and what will we do? Who's got who, right? But yeah, that was definitely one of his things was you make them think twice about coming over the middle, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
And then also and then the pass rush, right? Because again, hard to do this stuff with hands in your face, right? And a guy breathing down your neck. So,
yep, it'll definitely be interesting for sure. I don't know. I really don't know 100% like how we're going to answer that. I just feel like that we're going to, and I don't. The best antidote that you can give for those quick slants is to just cover them. I mean, that's really ultimately what it comes down to. Is we have to have our men on the outside play their man, play their assignments, and everything will kind of work out across the defensive line, because I feel like that, again, Bryce isn't going to have a whole lot of time to make some of these decisions. Like in some of these instances where they lined up in these bunch formations where they're running these crossing routes, like they lined up on one hash mark and the pass isn't completed until they get to the other hash mark. That's at least 3-4 seconds. That's at least 3-4 seconds of someone running across the entirety of the field. And that's just time that I just don't feel like that they're going to get. And even like, unless he just sees like single coverage and they throw it early, and kind of like Tua did on that pass, you know, I know that we don't like to think about that, but like basically he threw it as soon as the ball was snapped. Like the ball was snapped, he took a look and threw it. Like you're going to have to make decisions like that. Like, I just don't know that they're going to have the kind of time to be able to do that.
Yeah, agreed. All right, next up, Zach, SC Dog, 864. All right, so Zach was the one asking about Munson's cigars. So Zach had asked if we knew if Munson had a favorite cigar, because Zach wanted to get some of them. Still trying to track it down, still trying to put glasses on it. I actually have a connection to the Munson family and reached out to them. But the folks that I was able to get in contact with, not directly, but indirectly, they did not know if he had like a favorite cigar or not. So we reached out to the usual suspects, Jeff Dantzler, Patrick Garvin, John Frierson, and I included Scott Howard on that. I don't know how he's not the most active on Twitter, but we'll see. So we will continue to try to track that down, Zach. So sorry, have not got the answer on that yet. Second, who do you predict is the MVP of this game, or who has the most impact for Georgia? I would say this: most impact, I could see it being Jordan Davis. Now, MVP, I don't know, because again, that tends to be an offensive thing, and what Jordan does is less sexy, right? It's like taking up bodies and freeing up stuff for other people. But man, it would be poetic if it was Stetson Bennett. So that's my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, the guy that's going to have the most impact on the game and the guy that could potentially be the MVP is going to be Stetson Bennett.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
all right.
The way that the way that this game goes is ultimately going to come down to how does Stetson Bennett play, because Jordan Davis can't throw the ball.
Yeah, right. Agreed. But he can run it.
I think you just got your cold open. That's funny.
All right. Friend of the show, Tim Riley at TRileyDog on Twitter. This I feel like this is for you, John. This is more up your alley. How many rushing yards and passing yards are needed from the Georgia offense to win? And then he said, or how many touchdowns win the game? Like you tend to ask me like, what if I told you we ran for 175, or you're always like 89 yards. I'm like 89 yards. I want 200. I don't know. Do you have any of those kind of in your back pocket? Do you have a rush or pass yardage you think we need to accomplish here?
I don't have anything off the cuff. I don't have anything. Let me come back to that one. Let me come back to that one when we talk about the scores.
Okay, we can do that. And he just said, we know Bama will not go away easy, as seen on Saturday night. Which, amen. And that gets back to what I said earlier. Of the other thing I'll add to that is, again, I don't see them looking like they looked like on Saturday. They're going to look. I mean, they're going to be playing a better team than they played. But they will look different, is my sense. So anyway, all right, let's see. All right, John Michael D, 2-part. 1, does JT play Saturday? And then 2, is it more likely Kirby asks him to play savior or provide mop-up duty? And then he said that he thinks the mop-up duty is more likely right now. I'll give the quick, the Kirby answer, does JT play Saturday? I honestly think the answer is no. I don't think so.
I don't think he plays. No, sorry.
I don't think so either. And I think the whole if he gets in, how is it going to be? I agree that it's much more likely that JT comes in to provide mop-up duty than be a savior. I don't see Kirby switching quarterbacks in this game. I don't see that in the cards. And then Brad Kovacic. So Brad's a high school buddy of mine and Georgia buddy of mine. High school graduating classmate, and he was at Georgia, same time as us as well. Over under on number of times Gary talks about Bryce being, quote, unflappable, or is, quote, cool under pressure. In a normal game, I'd set this at 6.5. Saturday, I'll go with 2.5 because our defense. I think you and I were kind of texting about this a little bit earlier about I think this kind of goes with the Heisman moment or whatever. There definitely was a lot of he's so cool. He's calm under pressure, all this kind of stuff. So I do think, I don't know, only 2.5. I'm going to take the over because I think they're still trying to pump him up as the Heisman guy. But
I'll take the over. I'll take the over. Yeah, for sure.
All right. As I know and anyone listening may have noticed, there's no soundboard tonight. So, John, if you could do the honors, because it's time. It's time for Coach Chillbill's over-unders. So, I don't know what is going on with my technical difficulties. I could not figure it out. Hopefully, I will fix it soon. All right. So, Coach Chillbill, over-unders. Ooh, this might help with your answer to Tim Riley's question.
I'm prepared for an answer to Tim Riley's question.
All right, let's hit Tim's first. Okay, so how many rushing and passing yards do we need from Georgia's offense?
Okay. So from Georgia's offense. So if I told you that Stetson Bennett threw for 214 yards,
I actually feel.
How do you feel about that?
I feel good. I feel good about that.
Okay. That's the average yards that their defense is giving up through the air.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
If I told you that Bryce Young only threw for 151 yards through the air, how do you feel?
We win the game.
We win the game.
Yeah.
Okay. The flip side of that is the rushing numbers. So if I told you that we rushed for 81 yards,
We rushed for 81 yards?
we rushed for 81 yards.
No, I want more than that. See, we've done exactly what you said, or what I
Yep.
said would happen.
So
Is that
that's what they're averaging. And if I told you that they rushed for 79 yards,
79 yards? Yeah, if they only want to rush for 79 yards, I feel great.
yeah.
So you're saying
So
we need to get more than 80?
what I'm saying is that I don't know that the rushing yards matter.
Okay,
What I
okay,
think
okay.
matters is the passing yards.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if we stick to our averages, if
Mhm.
we stick to our averages, and we'll get to this, we'll get to the points. What this means from a points perspective, from what the data shows us, particularly against common opponents.
Mhm.
So what I'm looking at is like if we can play our game, if we play our game, our brand of football,
Mhm.
they are only going to get 150 yards through the air, and we are
Okay.
going to get 213 through the air. And I feel like if you
Yeah.
gave us those odds, the numbers are going to be very, very dramatic for the University of Georgia.
Mhm. Okay. I still want more than 89 rushing yards, though. I think we'll
Yeah.
get.
So like,
We're gonna get more than that. I'll say that right now. I think.
yeah,
Be my prediction. Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay. Good deal. All right. So now we'll go back to Coach Jobo. Over under. I feel like these are pretty good numbers set actually. Although the first one, I don't. Okay. So over under Georgia passing yards, he's got it at 225, and so you were just saying like you kind of expect 240, or I don't know if you expect that, but that's what they're giving up, right? Um,
they're giving up 214.
Oh, 214. Okay, okay. So yeah, so this is a pretty good line. So
That's a good line.
what do you think? Over under 225 passing.
Over
Over. Okay. I'm going to take the over.
for Georgia. For Georgia,
Yeah, Georgia passing yards.
yeah, I'm going to take the over because
Okay.
what's going to happen is we're going to see one of the few games where Stetson plays the whole game.
Yeah. Okay. Agreed. Agreed. Okay. And like I've said before, I'm done disagreeing with you just to disagree. I agree with you, and so that's what I'm going to say. Okay. Georgia rushing yards over under 125.
I'm going to take the under.
Really? Okay. I'm
Yeah,
going to take the over. I think it's going to be close, though. I think this is a pretty good line. You
I
don't think
think
we're
it's
going to
a, I
even
think
have
it's,
100 yards rushing?
I think it's a good line. I don't know that we're going to get it. It really just depends, man. I
Yeah.
mean, so if we go out there and just light these guys up and we get some interceptions, like, dude, I mean, we could
Yeah.
probably end
Yeah.
up with 500 yards of offense. Like,
Mhm.
but if you're looking at it from a data standpoint, the data doesn't showcase that this is going to be a running game. Like
Yeah.
the data
Okay.
showcases that this is going to be maybe we'll play like this chess game where it's like, okay, we're gonna poke and prod for a little bit, and both teams are going to do the same thing. Like they'll poke and prod and see, like, feel out where the coverages are. They'll feel out where the blocking assignments are. They'll kind of like Paul Johnson used to do. Remember, like Paul Johnson in the triple option, like he would come out there and like he would like figure out who was blocking who, and then all of a
hmm
sudden it was like off to the races kind of thing.
hmm
Um, that's kind of what I feel like is going to happen. They're going to go out there, they're going to poke and prod, they're going to move guys around along on the offensive side of the ball to figure out who's manned up with who. Like
hmm
I just think that there's going to be a little bit of chess management and field position management. As much as I hate to say it, like Kirby still like very much is going to be like in his own feelings about this game. I feel like because
hmm
the magnitude of this, and maybe some of that's going to be a little bit more relaxed because frankly, I think that if we lose this game, we still make the playoff.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so maybe we'll take a little bit more. We'll be a little bit more loose in the poking and the prodding, but I expect very similar to Auburn. Frankly, like I mean,
hmm
Auburn shut them down for a long period of time. Alabama shut them down for a long period of time. Granted, their offense is nowhere near as good as ours. So um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, man. If we make a couple of long connections, if they make a couple of long connections, we could be off to the races early. So like that's why I say like the data showcases that this is going to be a game that's won through the air, and anything that is executed on the ground is largely going to be either field position based or time. Like, we need to run a clock instead of just continuing to just eat points and yards through the air to slow the game down.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Over under Georgia defensive sacks. So over under set at 3.5.
Oh, I'm going over, dude.
Yeah.
I'm going way over.
Yeah.
Like, it would not shock me to see us have 10 sacks tomorrow.
Yeah,
and if I told you we had 10 sacks, like, how would you feel about that
game? I love that we're back to the if I told you questions. Yes, I would feel great if we had 10 sacks.
I know. Even if I told you we had 7 sacks, like if I told you we had 7 sacks.
Agreed.
Let's see, what's the average? They've played 12 games? We're 12 games right now.
12 games, and they've given up 30. Well, Young has 35? Been sacked 30. I think it was 33.
That's 3 sacks a game. So his line actually makes a lot of sense. But what that doesn't factor in is that our defense is just flipping sick.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. Let's see. Next one. This is also a good line. Painful to discuss, but okay. 2nd and 26 / 4th and 11 clips on CBS during the game. Over under set at 3.5. That's a good one too. 2nd and 26. It guaranteed 2nd and 26 is in the opening, in the pregame montage before the game. So that's one right there. I'm gonna hope for the under because I think it'll probably be 3. Again, these are the kind of things that we will not track ourselves. So, Coach Tribble, you got to track that.
I do not care.
Oh, I like that. That's a good answer. Camera shots of a frustrated Saban. Over under at 5.5.
Don't forget, Nakobe Dean wasn't even on the team for those games.
Gosh, such a great answer to a question. How did I not hit that in the news and notes? What an amazing question. That's okay. You got to keep it in your back pocket for the entire
I did. Bang, draw 4.
That was awesome.
What was the question? I forgot.
Over under camera shots of a frustrated Saban. Sit at 5.5. Like live, we go to the sideline and he's frustrated.
Definitely taking the over.
Yeah, smash the over.
This game just screams frustration for that man.
Yeah, for sure. All right, personal level of Munsoning pregame. Sit at 90%. I'm going to say this. So, can I ask a clarifying question, John? Is he asking if we will be 90% or if Coach Trillbill will be at 90%? Because I can't really speak to Coach Trillbill. Not 100% sure there. I'm going to tell you, dude, I am going to be an absolute wreck. I'm going to be a complete wreck. I am who asked us? Was it J Rake T? J Rake T was asking us about, or told us that he's already pre-apologized to his wife. I have to have the conversation with Kim as well. Actually, she already just knows I'm going to be a total wreck. This is why I put up the outdoor Christmas lights on the day of the game, because it passes the time for me and to get to the kickoff, because I am going to be in a glass case of emotion all day on Saturday. So. I talked through or I talked earlier about kind of my heart versus my head. And yes, we're in the middle of an amazing season. It's been an epic run. And statistically, yes, I feel confident. However, that is not going to help my stomach all day Saturday up until kickoff. So
Jim, I've got my Christmas lights. They've been on my house. I've got my Christmas trees up. They've been up for a while now. Let's kick the tires. Let's light the fires. And to quote a great philosopher, let's light this bitch up.
Shout out Hunter. Epic moment in Charlotte. Wait. That was at. Wait, when did he say that? That was in Charlotte, right?
I think it was in Charlotte. I think it was I think he also did it when he was in the Braves stadium too.
So amazing. All right. If Georgia wins, and then so this is, like if Georgia wins, SEC championship, MVP Stetson. So I think we kind of already hit it on that. That's who our money's on as well. I think, right?
Wait, what? Say
If
it again?
Georgia wins, who would be the MVP? And he said
Oh,
Stetson.
yeah,
It's kind of
yeah. Yeah, I mean, Stetson's definitely going to be in there for sure. I mean, could it be Brock Bowers with a 3-touchdown, 300-yard performance for sure? Could it be
yeah.
Darian Kendrick with a 2-interception game?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the little outliers like that are certainly within the realm of possibility. Jordan Davis with 5 sacks, whatever.
Yeah.
My money is on Stetson, though. I mean, it
Yeah.
has to be. I mean, in order to win this game, Stetson's going to have to play the game of his life. Like, this is literally what he came back to the university to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Does he have to play the game of his life for this team to win, though? I don't think he does. I think he has to play well. I don't know that he has to have be otherworldly. Like if he plays the same in this game as he played against Georgia Tech, I think we can win the game. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, how do you quantify that though? Like,
Well, that's true because Alabama is a lot better than Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I mean, like, how do you quantify that though?
I don't know.
So
you threw it out there. I'm just questioning it.
So here's my thing. So he's got to complete 60% of his passes.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to throw for over 200 yards. He needs to have 0 interceptions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you look at the statistics,
I think that's fair. When you just threw that out there, like he has done that against other teams, but he has not done that against an Alabama. So I think that's fair. I'm tracking what you said now. I was just kind of questioning that for a second.
Okay. Let me also say that he doesn't necessarily have to play perfect, but they have to play perfect if they expect to win this game.
Alabama has to play perfect.
If they don't play perfect, they lose this game. We don't have to play perfect, I don't believe. I believe that he can make mistakes, which I don't obviously want him to make any mistakes. I don't want us as a team to make any mistakes. I don't want to see anybody with blown coverages or I don't want to see anybody fumble the ball, Jim, knock on your head. I don't want to see any interceptions thrown, that kind of stuff. Like, I don't want to see any of that kind of stuff. But if they make those kind of mistakes, like instantly it's going to be game over. If they don't counteract that with mistakes on our end, which frankly I think kind of is a wash there, like from a impact standpoint. But like if they're giving up interceptions and turnovers and giving up sacks and all that kind of stuff, and we're not, like, dude, game over. Like, just game over.
Yeah, we need to make them earn it, right?
Yeah,
make them earn it. Yep. All right. So as we're Monday night recording, the spread is at Georgia is favored by 6.5, and the over under is at 50.5 points total. That would give us an implied score of Georgia like 28.5 to 22. So like 29 to 22 would be a cover, 28 to 22 would be a non-cover with a Georgia win. That's kind of the implied score. By the line, OddsShark has their score predictor has Georgia winning 42.6 to 30.2, which is also a cover and an under. I'll say that's a lot of points for Alabama to score 30 points. I can't really see Alabama scoring 30 points on our defense.
That's a win, cover, and an over.
Yeah, exactly. So
that line's changed a little bit because it was 80%, 20%. It was 80% Georgia, 20% Bama, but the movement is now 76 Georgia, 24% Bama. So Bama's gotten some bets on that.
Yeah. I've struggled with this one. Like I've talked about my struggles with it. You want me to give my score, or do you want? You've got your analysis. You've got your like sound logic and reasoning. I'm all emotion. Let's hear what you got.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. John and I have been talking about this. John Tweets and I have been talking about this like all day, basically. Like, hey, he put out his updated numbers with the Tech game included with what our impact is to another team's offense. And that to me is like the key to the game. Like, yes, Stetson needs to do his thing. And that's all. Like, Stetson needs to do his thing under the umbrella of the defense doing theirs. So collectively, the defense needs to perform at the level that they've been doing on average throughout the entirety of the season. So if you look at those numbers, our impact score is like 23.4 or something like that. It's like, call it 23 points, whatever, screw it. So you take that off of Alabama's average and you're netting out at like, I think it's like something like 16 points or 15 points or something like that. I flubbed up to 17. So I feel like that this is going to sit at like a 35-17. And the reason at the 35 is that I took Alabama's impact score as well. So what is Alabama's impact score to other teams that we've played? So if you take those numbers into consideration on like the shared opponents, right? So the impact score on us versus Tennessee, Florida, Arkansas, and Auburn. So those are the four common opponents that we have versus Alabama. So I just isolated those. And if you look at the numbers, our impact score actually goes up. I think it's like 27 points or something like that to their season average. So if you took 27 points off of Alabama's season average, I mean, you're talking like 13, 14 points. Like if we do that, I don't have any problem with us winning this game. Like if we can hold them to under two scores, two touchdowns, like we're winning this game all day long. And so really what our score would be at that point doesn't even matter. But you look at the common opponent scores. So their impact on those common opponents is 8 points. So 8 points off of our season average puts it at about 31. I think so, like 31-17, I think is what that averaged out to, or something like that when we were talking about it earlier. He's probably going to post like the cleaner numbers and some of the better math. He'll probably have some of the yards per point margin. Definitely follow John Tweets for some of the advanced stats from around those numbers. I have been historically tracking net yards per play. I moved on from that metric because we are so far above what is considered elite in the college football playoff era that it's almost pointless to follow it, because I don't necessarily think that it necessarily encapsulates the impact that our defense has had on the games that we've played. So when you look at the raw numbers and the raw data like that, I feel like 35-17. That's where I'm sitting at.
35-17. Okay. And that would be the over, I think, or would you be going over? Did I just not remember what the over under was?
50 points. What, 35-17? Oh yeah, you're right. It would be just barely 52.
Okay. So you're gonna stick with that.
I was told there would be no math.
Yeah, sorry. I apologize.
Even though I literally just talked about a lot of math.
That's okay. Okay, so me, like I've talked through my emotions and such, and in general, like, again, I think that if you go by the narrative, the concern was like, can Georgia's offense keep up? Again, I think our defense is more elite than it was when people were originally asking that question, right? Like last year and even in early this year, we didn't quite know yet. I'll say too, like when, early on in the season, our guy Josh Dog Stats wasn't sold on the offense. And I think he is now too. And I take a lot of value in his research on the numbers as well. And so that has also helped me feel more comfortable as well. So all that being said, I'm gonna predict Georgia to win. I'm gonna go 28-17. That's what I had written down. Not too far off from what you've got. So that is it would be a cover, but just under. So it'd be a slight under. That's what I got.
I like it. Either way, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to win. I don't care how much we win by, but again, my head tells me we win. I've got I've got all the things in the back of my head. But what I just keep telling myself on that when those things creep in is look at this team. Um, like we've talked about this before. Like it all started with the whole unfinished business, run it back. Um, all the guys that came back, Jordan Davis, number one amongst all those guys, has made all the difference for this team. And we're 12-0, but there's more work to be done. So let's just keep it up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we talked about it multiple weeks ago. As long as Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and company are healthy, that I like our chances in pretty much versus anybody out there, regardless of who's playing quarterback. So, yeah, dude, I don't care. We're gonna win. Like, screw these guys. I'm over it. I'm gonna go down there. We're gonna go down. What are you doing for the game? You get. I know you're putting up Christmas lights. You got like a pattern that you're gonna do.
A pattern of Christmas lights.
Well, I mean, like you have your plan, like you have a like.
So yeah.
Out.
So
you're just gonna throw them up there. Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I've got a plan. Yeah, I pretty much do the same thing. We've got got a Minions inflatable. I'm not huge on the inflatables, but we have one inflatable, and then we've got all the outdoor front lights. I actually just do like colored string lights. Is what I do in the front, and I do icicle lights across the garage in the front, and then on our covered porch in the back. So that's what I'll be doing Saturday to pass time until game day. We have been doing bean dip for the last 2 games. I plan to do that again. And we're just gonna watch. We're just gonna watch with the family. So we're just gonna stay at home, watch the game with the 4 of us. That is the plan. So I know. So you're gonna at least go down and tailgate and be in the city, and then kind of TBD on the game, right? Or TBD on being in the stadium, I guess.
Yeah, I think that the tailgate we're gonna go to. There's gonna be some TVs there, so. The chances of us going to the game probably took a hit today, but we'll see. We'll see what's going on. We're definitely going to go down there. We got a hotel. We're a bit of a rekindling of like a 10-year kind of anniversary with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. Like we all went together, and again, like I said at the beginning, they're a bit of a redemption tour. Mm-hmm. We were at the 2012 SEC championship game in the parking lot when that all went down.
Okay.
And so this is kind of like our rekindling of that memory. And that was the first time that I had met her. Anyway, so we're going to do a little brother sister / spouses get together down in Atlanta.
Nice.
And we're staying in a hotel. We're going to get together. We're going to have fun. We're going to have good food and have some drinks with everybody. The tailgate's going to be popping, and yeah, man. If I happen across some tickets, if anybody needs to get rid of some tickets last minute, like let me know. I don't know. Yeah. The tickets prices have been kind of going all over the place. I've been kind of tracking it and monitoring it, and asking my wife, like, how much could we spend on this?
Right. Set that number.
Yeah. So we'll see. If someone comes across some tickets, let me know.
Nice. Yeah, I just think like you mentioned the redemption tour. Like I just got to go back to what we said at the opening, right? Like it had to be Bama, right? And we've gotten here. Now let's do it. Why not now? Why not at us?
Yeah, exactly. Like, why not? Exactly. We're going to exercise some demons, Jim.
I'm all for it. Quick question. I had meant to send you a text and say this. Do you have a playoff Final Four prediction that you could roll off? Or do you want me to give you mine? And then you can react to that? And it doesn't even have to be seeding. Just who do you think the 4 teams will be?
So I think Georgia will be number 1. We're going to beat Alabama. I think that number 2 will probably be Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Cincinnati sneaks in there, and I believe that. Let's see. What does that mean? So does that mean Notre Dame sneaks in?
Well, I think the question there is, does Oklahoma State win the Big?
Oklahoma State. That's what it
If
is.
they win the
Oklahoma
Big
State.
12, I think it would be Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So if they win, it'll be Oklahoma State. If they lose, it's Notre Dame, right?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I have
Yeah,
no disagreement with that. I'm totally in line with you. That's what I think it
yeah,
will be. Yeah. I mean, the only way it can get crazy is if Cincinnati loses to Houston and or Oklahoma State, whatever. Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game, and then Michigan Iowa. Things could get weird. Here's what I want. I want, okay, because now I'm talking about want and not so much think. I want to, and was my, this is my remember the Titans quote I gave to my dad earlier today. As far as Alabama making the playoff, I want to leave no doubt.
leave no doubt.
I want to end them. I want to end their season. I want to send them packing. We don't have to hear anything from them again until next season.
Yeah, there's a great quote that we have at the workout crew. One of the guys, his name's Reagan Godey. His name F3 name is Gucci. Um, he likes to always say, find your quitter. Find your quitter.
Nice.
Is always what gets spouted out. Like
Mm-hmm.
basically get to the point where you just have to quit.
Yeah.
Well, I want to find their quitter.
Mm. Yeah. Seriously.
Make them not want to play you anymore.
Yeah. Can you imagine be a fly on the wall with Kirby's
Yeah.
speeches in this game? Whoo.
So so speaking of like how to get motivated for this game, like some people were talking about that. Like there's a handful of players that were on the 2017 team. You know,
Yep.
Stetson being one of them, Julian Rochester, who's been around since like the 40s. Um,
Yes.
you've got you've got some of the coaches. The coaches have been around for some of that stuff too, so they
Mm-hmm.
all know and all have the opportunity to speak to. And I love that someone threw out that they have like a guest. The university has like a guest voiceover for the hype video, and someone on Twitter was suggesting that Tyler Simmons do
Oh.
the
Oh my gosh.
the speech for this one because
Oh my gosh.
I feel like that much like the coaches, he has a unique perspective on what it means to have this game stolen from you.
Yes. Oh god, I'm so fired up right now. If Tyler Simmons is the narrator for this video, holy crap, that would be so amazing.
Yeah, that would be great.
That would be awesome. Look, here's the thing. They're going to get the calls. We know that's going to happen. That's where you have to, it's like to beat them by 3, you've got to beat them by 7. Right? Like that's where the whole leave no doubt comes in. Because if you remember the Titans, when he said that was the game when like the refs were cheating, right? And that's what's going to happen. The checks run through Birmingham. Like that's where, leave no doubt, just beat them so we don't have to worry about any of this outside noise, and then be done with these guys end their season. That's what I want to happen.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All right. Well, this was fun. It was a long one, but that's okay. This is the biggest game of the year, biggest game in quite some time. We've got the matchup we had hoped and dreamed for, and it's here. I can't wait for it to be Saturday.
Yeah, I can't wait either, man. I'm so excited for it.
All right. Well, like we said, why not us? Let's go do this. Let's go do this and add one more victory. Become the first Georgia team to ever make it to 13-0.
The first ever team to make it 13-0 has a good ring to it, man. Let's show up early, show up elite, and man, just savor it. Just savor the moment. Like, take a look around. Like, remember those memories that we had come rolling into the dome. Just feeling like, man, what the heck is going to happen? We have no idea. Like, I am rolling into this game pretty confident. So I can't wait for it.
Yep, agreed. I am confident but not cocky. That's my mantra this week. So let's do it. Go dogs.
Hey man, go dogs.